Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering unboxing. So today we're going to look at the second of the 4 Commander 2017 products. This is the Vampire Tribal deck, Vampiric Bloodlust, with Edgar Markov as the lead commander. He's a 3 red, white, black legendary creature vampire knight. So let's open up the box, have a look what's inside. We just get a single oversized foil card of the lead commander. I think it was only the very early commander decks that had one of each of the commanders. That's the lead one, and then the 2 alternates. As with the first deck that I opened, this particular part of the package has the backstory for Edgar Markov, Sire of the Bloodline, and then on the other side there's its specific instructions about playing this deck. We have the standard quick reference guide as well. So let's open this deck up and take a in-depth look at this. So I'm going to go through and highlight. We'll go through the whole deck, but I'll also read out the rares, and also things like the mana base. I think is pretty important in these decks, because it's always interesting from a deck design point of view to see how they've put this together with the sort of constraints that they sort of consider in terms of what non-basic lands they do or don't want to add to decks like this. So Edgar Markov is a 3 red, white, black legendary creature vampire knight. It's 4/4 with Eminence, and you'll notice that Eminence features on all these lead commanders, but not on the necessarily on the alternates. So Eminence: whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Edgar Markov is in the command zone or on the battlefield, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. Edgar Markov also has first strike, haste. Whenever Edgar Markov attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. So you can see how eminent, just that first ability there, the Eminence ability, how that's obviously a very tribal ability, and you'll see that specific for each of the tribes in the other decks. Moving on to our alternate commanders, which are also foil, you can see that there. We've got Lycia Sanguine Tribune, 5 red, white, black for a 4/4 legendary creature vampire soldier. Lycia Sanguine Tribune costs 1 less to cast for each 1 life you gain this turn. First strike and lifelink, pay 5 life, put 3 +1/+1 counters on Lycia, activate this ability only on your turn and only once each turn. And then we have Mathis Fiend Seeker, red, white, black for a 3/3 legendary creature vampire, has menace on it. And then at the beginning of your end step, put a bounty counter on target creature an opponent controls. For as long as that creature has a bounty counter on it, it has when this creature dies, each opponent draws a card and gains 2 life. So it also looks like in this deck, in addition to other themes we might see, we have a lifelink, life gain theme. Then first up we've got our tokens. So we have flip side tokens here, 2-sided tokens, or should I say 2-face tokens. We've got bats and vampires, zombie and a vampire, zombie and a vampire. Obviously in a vampire deck we're going to see lots of vampire tokens. Zombie, vampire, zombie and a vampire, a bat and a vampire, bat and a vampire, bat and a vampire, bat and a vampire. Something is producing obviously Eldrazi spawn and a vampire. So the rest of the deck. So Dark Imposter, 2 and a black for a 2/2 creature vampire assassin. 4/2 black, exile target creature and put a +1/+1 counter on Dark Imposter. Dark Imposter has all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with it. Drana Calistria Bloodchief is in the deck. 3 and 2 black for 4/4 legendary creature vampire shaman with flying. X and 2 black. Target creature gets -0/-X until end of turn, and Drana Calistria Bloodchief gets +X/+0 until end of turn. Malakir Bloodwitch, 3 and 2 black for 4/4 creature vampire shaman, flying protection from white. When Malakir Bloodwitch enters the battlefield, each opponent loses life equal to the number of vampires you control. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Sangromancer, 2 and 2 black, creature vampire shaman with flying. It's a 3/3. Whenever a creature an opponent controlled dies, you may gain 3 life. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may gain 3 life. Sanguine Bond is in the deck, 3, 2 black enchantment. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Skeletal Vampire, 4 and 2 black for a vampire, creature vampire skeleton. It's 3/3 with flying. When Skeletal Vampire enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 black bat creature tokens with flying. 3 and 2 black, sacrifice a bat. Create 2 1/1 black creature tokens with flying. Sacrifice a bat, regenerate Skeletal Vampire. That's a 3/3. Underworld Connections, 1 and 2 black, enchantment aura. It enchants a land, and enchanted land has tap, pay 1 life, draw a card. Vein Drinker, 4 and 2 black for 4/4 creature vampire with flying. For a single red, tap it. Vein Drinker deals damage equal to its power to target creature. That creature deals damage equal to its power to Vein Drinker. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Vein Drinker this turn dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Vein Drinker. Outpost Siege is in here, 3 and a red enchantment. When Outpost Siege enters the dragons, choose Khans or dragons. If you choose Khans at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn you may play that card. Dragons, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, Outpost Siege deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Crackling Doom, red, white, black, instant. Crackling Doom deals 2 damage to each opponent. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures he or she controls. Merciless Eviction, 4 white, black. You choose 1. It's a sorcery. And the choices are exile all artifacts, exile all creatures, exile all enchantments, or exile all planeswalkers. Blade of the Bloodchief is in here. 1 to cast artifact equipment. Whenever a creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature. If equipped creature is a vampire, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it instead. Equip for 1. Door of Destinies. So 4 generic mana for this artifact. As Door of Destinies enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, put a charge counter of Door of Destinies. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. And one nice thing about these decks is going to be, just with generally getting these decks, you're obviously going to get a lot of tribal staples, which can go in a lot of different decks. So keep on the lookout for that when you're trying to decide which one of these decks to buy, if you don't want to buy all 4, and you're thinking of not maintaining the deck in its form and just at some point breaking it down, then it would make sense, I suppose, to go for the things that are most usable across multiple tribal decks for those tribal cards. Well of Lost Dreams, 4 generic mana. It's an artifact. Whenever you gain life, you may pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gained. If you do, draw X cards. And then we've got some of our basic lands here. Some lovely artwork on this time round. There's a shooting star artwork. Okay, so we've got some. So now we've got our non-basic lands. So we've got a Path of Ancestry here. Enters the battlefield tapped, and it's one of these cards which is dependent on your commander's colour identity. So you can tap it, add to your mana, pull 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity. Also, when that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, you get to scry for 1. Oakham Refuge. This is one of these lands where it enters the battlefield tapped, and when it does, you gain 1 life, but it taps for 2 colours, in this case black or red. Bloodfell Caves. Another version of this, enters the battlefield tapped. When Bloodfell Caves enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life, and you tap it for black or red. Bojuka Bog's in here. This was from the Zendikar block. So, enters the battlefield tapped. When Bojuka Bog enters the battlefield, exile all cards from target player's graveyard, tap, add black to your mana pool. There was a cycle of these lands in that particular block, which when they entered the battlefield, they triggered a sort of spell effect. Boris Garrison, famous cycle of lands from the Ravnica block, enters the battlefield tapped, but what it does when it enters the battlefield, you have to return a land you control to its owner's hand. But when this thing untaps, you get to tap it for, in this case, red-white, and again there were a cycle of these in that block. Boros Gilgate, enters the battlefield tapped, and it taps for red or white. Cinder Barons, same sort of thing, black or red. We've got a command tower in here. Another non-basic land that's tied to our colour of our commander's colour identity, and so it adds mana to the mana pool of any one of those colours. Evolving Wilds. So you can tap and sack this and search your library for a basic land card, and then put it into the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Forsaken Sanctuary. It's a tap land, no additional effect on this, and you can tap it for a white or black. Kabira Crossroads. This enters the battlefield tapped. You get 2 life when it enters the battlefield, but it just taps for a single white mana. Nomad Outpost. Cycle of Lands, one of the cycle of lands from the Khan's block, and this one enters the battlefield taps for a red, white or black mana. Opal Palace adds colourless mana to your mana pool, and for 1 generic you can tap and add to your mana pool 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity. If you spend this mana to cast your commander, it enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of times it's been cast from the command zone this game. Orzhov Basilica, another one of the Ravnica block bounce lands, and this one taps for white and black. Another Guild Gate, but this one taps for white or black and enters the battlefield tapped. Ractus Canarium, another one of the bounce lands that we saw, and this one's you can tap it and add black red. Rakdos Guildgates, another Guildgate. This one's in black or red. Scoured Barons. Scoured Barons enters the battlefield. Tap. When Scoured Barons enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life, and you can tap this for white or black. So you can see we've got, because of the 3 colours here, we've got all the relevant on-colour variants of the particular cycles. Another tap land, this in the form of Stone Quarry. This one is for red or white. Terramorphic Expanse. So this was the original card, which Evolving Wilds was a functional reprint of. Urborg Volcano, tap land that taps for black or red. Windscarred Crag, it comes into play tapped, you gain 1 life, and this one does red or white. And now back to our irregular spells here. So we've got Go for the Throats in here, Bloodline Necromancer, Curse of Disturbance, Heirloom Blade, Return to Dust, Swords to Plowshares is in the deck, Ambition's Cost, Blood Artist, Bloodhusk Ritual, Falkenrath Noble, Curse of Vitality, Pawn of Ulamog, Read the Bones, Skeletal Scrying. You notice in black where you've got card draw, the downside tends to be that you, like, an additional cost for the card is losing life, and in obviously a deck that deals with life as a transaction, and there's life gain here going on, then you've got an additional resource there at your disposal. Siphon Mind, Vampire Nighthawks in here, Rakish Air, Mortify. So we're going to see lots of interesting white-black or black-red or red-white spells in here. Stormkirk Captain, Tithe Drinker, there's Extort on it, and looks like we've got, so we're going to have some of the signets here which are going to help with our mana. So we've got the Boros Signet, the Orzhov Signet, and the Rakdos Signet. Skull Clamps in here, Soul Rings in here. I'd be surprised if we don't see those turning up in quite a few, if not all of the decks. Worn Power Stone, another Swamp, and then we've got some more rares here. So Kindred Boon, 2 white for an enchantment. As Kindred Boon enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. 1 and a white, put a divinity counter on a target creature you control of the chosen type. Each creature you control with a divinity counter on it has indestructible. Teferi's Protection, 2 and a white for an instant, with until your next turn, your life total can't change and you have protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. Exile Teferi's Protection. Kiru Mind Eater, 2 and a black for a 1/3 creature vampire with menace. Whenever Kiru Mind Eater deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles a card from his or her hand face down. You may look at and play cards exiled with Kiru Mind Eater. New Blood, 2 and 2 black, sorcery. As an additional cost to cast New Blood, tap an untapped vampire you control. Gain control of a target creature. Change the text of that creature by replacing all instances of one creature type with vampire. Interesting. Patron of the Vein, 4 and 2 black for 4/4 creature vampire shaman. It's got flying on it. When Patron of the Vein enters the battlefield, destroy target creature and opponent controls. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it and put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. Bloodsworn Steward is in here. 2 and 2 red creature vampire knight with flying. Commander creatures you control get +1/+1 and have haste. It's a very interesting card there. Very specific to the commander product. Crimson Honor Guard, 3 and 2 red for a creature vampire knight with trample. At the beginning of each player's end step, Crimson Honor Guard deals 4 damage to that player unless he or she controls a commander. So 4/5. Disrupt Decorum, 2 and 2 red, sorcery. Goad all creatures you don't control. Until your next turn, those creatures attack each combat if able and attack a player other than you if able. That's cool. Kindred's Charge, 4 and 2 red. Choose a creature type. For each creature you control of the chosen type, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step. So many cool commander, synergistic and obviously tribal synergy cards in here. Blind Obedience, 1 and a white with Extort on it. Whenever you cast a spell, you may pay white-black. If you do, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain that much life. Makes sense to have Extort in this particular deck. Artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Fell the Mighty, 4 and a white. Destroy all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. And 1 the Ruined Sage, 3 and 2 black for 4/3 legendary creature vampire shaman. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player sacrifices a non-vampire creature. Black Market, 3 and 2 black. Enchantment, whenever a creature dies, put a charge counter on Black Market. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add black to your mana pool for each charge counter on Black Market. Blood Tribune, 4 and 2 black for a sorcery with kicker. Tap an untapped vampire you control. Target opponent loses half his or her life rounded up. If Blood Tribune was kicked, you gain life equal to the life lost this way. Blood of Vazgoth, 3 and 2 black, creature vampire warrior. It's a 3/3. Has Bloodthirst 3 on it. If an opponent was dealt damage this turn, this creature enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. It's got flying, and whenever you cast a vampire creature spell, it gains Bloodthirst 3. Blood Baron of Viscopa, 3 white-black, creature vampire. It's got lifelink and protection from white and from black. As long as you have 30 or more life and an opponent has 10 or less life, Blood Baron of Viscopa gets +6/+6 and has flying, and it's a 4/4. Butcher of Malakir, 5 and 2 black, 5/4 creature vampire warrior, flying. Whenever Butcher of Malakir or another creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Captivating Vampires in here, 3 and 2 black for a 2/2 creature vampire. Other vampire creatures you control get +1/+1. And tap 5 untapped vampires you control, gain control of a target creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. Consuming Vapors, 3 and a black. Sorcery, target player sacrifices a creature, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. It also has rebound on it, so if you cast this spell from your hand, exile as it rebounds. At the beginning of your next step upkeep, you may cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost. And I think that's our last card. Yep, we've got our last card here is Damnable Pact, X and 2 black for sorcery. Target player draws X cards and loses X life. So there we have it. Very interesting deck indeed. As I think are going to be all of these tribal themed decks. If you're big into playing Tribal Commander, then you can see we've got loads of interesting tribal cards, some of which are artifacts which would fit into a number of different decks. We got some new non-basic lands, which are are more sort of tied to commanders, and also there's a number of on-colour tribal cards which are going to work well in other decks where you have the same colour and they're obviously tribal. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye for now.